And we are live. How are you, Chef Lawrence?
Oh, I'm doing great, Chef Christian. Thanks for having me again. Excited to be here again.
I'm excited to be here too. So how's my audio today?
Fantastic. Mine?
It's fantastic. So,
My headset.
um,
There we go.
and also welcome to our audience here in the beautiful, where are you pushing it out from? Oh, LinkedIn. So welcome to our LinkedIn audience. Okay. Lawrence, what is on the agenda for today?
Well, I'm just going to kind of throw something out there for you, Chef. I know we didn't discuss this at all, but this is something that I've been kind of pondering. I mean, you've been a mentor of mine for a few years now, where we've had one-on-one coaching sessions, and you've helped me make some pivotal decisions in my life. And so here's another one for you.
Yep.
So really, last night and for the last week, there's a lot of push on people trying to find what is your personal brand, and really what it comes down to is asking the question, "Who am I?" I mean, it's the ultimate question that all of us constantly keep pondering, but it seems like it's even more with social media, that you have to have some sort of this personal brand for people to resonate with you. And especially now, because I have a lot of friends that have been laid off with the changes in the marketplace, and a lot of them are struggling. Like, what is my identity? A lot of people wrap their identity around what their job is and not realize that there's a lot more to them. And I would put myself in this category, even though I'm more conscious about it. So really what I'm feeling right now is I brought this prop. It's a level. And right now, Chef, I really don't feel like I'm on the level. My intuition says I'm one of the following. Like, I like to build things. I mean, I've built businesses. I've built myself. I've done a lot of home modeling projects around my house that I just figure out and I just do. I'm also a person that likes to show up for my own success and for others. And I'm also a person that likes to help people be heard, not just externally, but also to be able to hear what's going on inside themselves. And I would say that those are some of my strengths. So my intuition says that's what I am, but my head is saying something else. Mm-hmm. And one of the things that I have found, and this is where you can really help me, is that fortunately on LinkedIn, I'm networked with a lot of very smart people that I highly respect. Yeah. When I read about their bios and the things that they post, I feel like they're everything that I feel I am, and I'm not even close to being that way. And it makes me sometimes feel like my value or my worth isn't what I feel in here, because my mind is saying something different and I'm at a level. Yeah. You know, another example is I built last year a front deck outside of my house. I wanted to build it. I figured it out and I did it. And of course, you know, you're using a level, but sometimes when I look back from a distance, and because the way that my driveway slopes, sometimes I wonder, is my deck even level? So I start second guessing myself. And then I grab the level again and I place it on the studs and on the planks. And I'm like, well, this thing is perfectly plumb, as they would say in construction. But then I look at it and I second guess myself, saying, just because the way the geography and the slope of the grade is, it's not level. And that's kind of like where I'm at, Chef. And maybe you can help me in this real-time coaching session. How do I overcome this feeling like, why do I constantly compare myself to others as if I'm not at their level, when in fact, I look back at my past and I've achieved a lot, and I've done a lot by pivoting my own life. I've done a lot with very minimal resources, but yet I still, right now in the last few days, I'm not in touch with my personal brand. So how can you help me?
That's that's a lot. I think so make sure I understand that. So full transparency, Lawrence and I have been friends for a long time. We belong to the same mastermind, and I shared with him some of the things I was able to not just work on, but kind of resolve it in me. Because as I heard you talking about it, it was crazy because that was me just a few years ago. And I always compared myself because I hated social media. I didn't want to go on social media because everybody was doing just so much better than me, And I think that's really hard, number one, because there's two things I learned. And the first one is that whatever you see is what you feel inside. So, what do I mean by that? And because for me, it's the same idea. If you go out there and you ask somebody how you doing, somebody says, "Oh, I'm fantastic," and somebody says, "Yeah, I could do better." And reality is in human nature that we look at things the way we feel inside. It's as simple as that. And some days we don't feel like we 100%. We don't feel like all of this thing is going on. So when you see something on social media, it looks amazing. Oh, Lawrence has his shit together. Look at him. He's living his best life yet. And then there's the other side. When you look at things, when you see somebody's further ahead than you, what you feel, or if somebody feels like, or you feel like that somebody just has it all together because where you want to go, I think the difficult thing is to kind of go around that because it looks so hard, or look at it, hey, he got it, and I'm not sure how he got it so fast because I didn't get it, and it's really difficult to kind of get out of that. But there's a few things I learned. Let's try that with you. Because sometimes we all feel that things are just not the way or perceived, or what's currently going on. So for me, I go back. My mentor at the time, and he's still my mentor today, asked me a very important question, and the question was, "How are you really doing right now?" And that was one of his things. And he says, not just at work, how are you doing in work and mindset? And if you look at that, could you look at this? Hey, what are some quick wins or pain points? Or he called them trigger points. Is there burnout or boredom coming to you? Or do you need to reaffirm the space of clarity where you're in? And where you feel you're not performing. So let me ask you the question really simple. So how are you really doing right now?
Yeah, it's a good question. I would say that my spirit is, it's high. Every morning I'm very excited to do the things that, I work with you in a lot of different projects, and I'm super excited about the challenges. I love doing it because I know we're making a difference in people's lives. At the same time, sometimes I feel like I'm not really communicating my value or what my worth is to others, so that other people resonate with it or appreciate it. And I don't know if it's because of the pressure or feeling like I have to constantly keep marketing myself, where part of me, my inner spirit says, I just want to chill. Like, I just want to sit in my own self, in my own space, and just be content with that, and not feel like I have to constantly keep proving myself to others. And so that wears me out, to answer your question. Sometimes it wears me out feeling like I have to constantly keep proving myself to others, where sometimes I just don't want to. But I feel like in today's economy, in today's world, that you have to constantly keep proving yourself in order to get the monetary value back so that you can succeed in today's economy.
Yeah.
And I don't know if other people feel that way or not. It could be just me, but
I'm 100% sure it's just you. It's
okay,
just
good.
Like
All right, then.
Nobody else.
This is over with.
So because for me, I think we all in a way feel like that. And for me, there's the whole idea of what identity are you still holding on to? Number one, that's a big one. Or people saying, hey, what are you afraid of? What will happen when you let the version you hold on to, when you let that go? And so for us, and I find it more than anywhere else in people in our industry, and especially hospitality, we feel we are hospitality. We are, because when you go out, and I encourage anybody to listen to this, when you go out, to introduce yourself as who you are, or say, hey, I'm a chef. And because we are a lot more than what we say to people out there. So number one. And then I also feel, and that was a big one for me. Hey, um, if if you could write a headline about what chapter of your life you're in, what would that be? Because when you do that, it kind of gets you out of that funk a little bit. Because for me, as I did that exercise, and I learned this from an old friend of mine, and because hospitality people are, I think, generally tied to their identity, and they feel, or they see themselves, if I do something else, I unplug from that. Do you feel like that? If you say you not a chef, or when you feel you unplug from the culinary side, that you're out there on your own?
Do I feel that way? Well, I was able to, as you know, my history. I mean, when I ran my food business for 20 years, and then I decided to where I needed to transition to something else because it was becoming a unhealthy lifestyle for me. There was a moment where I had to actually really grieve and shed that part of my life because my identity was so attached to being a chef. And then when I really took stock on all the other skills that I developed by being a chef and running my own business, it definitely opened up the doors and new opportunities and new freshness, and it made me feel like a new person. And so, yeah, to answer your question, I mean, I had to re-look at myself and realize that I'm not so attached to the hospitality, but at the same time, I can take certain hospitality aspects, which is being of service to others, and incorporate into my new career journey, which was becoming more of a digital chef. I mean, a digital marketing chef is what I call myself. So I don't know if I answered your question. I mean, food was so much a part of my life, and it still is. I just had to change my relationship with it because I was using food as an ends to a mean to support my family. And that was destroying my love for food. I had to walk away with that because I was not willing to destroy that part of my life. And since I did that, my relationship with food has become more healthy, which means that my level of service to people has become more healthy. But yet that identity, being a chef for 20 years, still is an anchor that brings me down sometimes to feel like the new identity I'm trying to become isn't becoming who I want to be. That I still have this weight still pulling me. I don't know if that makes sense.
I know exactly. And again, thank God you're the only person who feels like this.
I know, good.
Nobody else feels like that.
Perfect.
And so for me, if I go back, what helped me? Maybe this is easier for you. What helped me is me. I like things in threes. So for me, I like to get really, really tactical. And the first thing I always do, and listen, there's still days I feel like, hey, for some reason I don't really perform the way I want to, or there's something else going on. So for me, because I'm tactical, I go and I describe my perfect day. What is it going to look like 6 months from now? Because then it's easier to kind of go back. The second thing I do is, what is helping me right now? What is helping the people I'm working with? And what are you getting compensated for? And it's really simple. You want to provide more value into people, then what do you extract? And then the final thing is, what are you really solving? What is the actual problem you solve? And what is only somebody with your background can do? And so the reason this is really important is because if you peel it all back, business ownership, in my opinion, or consulting, whatever you call it, is a higher form of hospitality. It's a higher form of service. It's a higher form of empathy. It's a higher form of transformation. And for me, if you do those three little exercises and write it out, you will realize that's exactly what it is.
Mm-hmm.
And we kind of get so stuck in our identity of who we were and what we did. And so for me, that's tool number one. And then for me, you know me a long time. I like kind of tools, and I like action plans.
And like
For
levels.
me, and then so if you go out, hey, what do you do the 6 months? The first things what we did. Then it's easy to retrofit it for me. I want to define what is the niche. I want to update the things I need to update within that. What is the personal brand of the company I work with? Then from there, it's really simple. What are one or two things which have a low rate of my investment, but big for them? Validate what I want to do for them. And then how can I, not just provide that visible, good service to them? How can I make them recognize that they can do that themselves? And then it's easy to kind of retrofit it from there. And hey, what are a package I can offer them, or what are they willing to part with in order to get to where they want to go? And then also, how am I getting it done? So for me, if we have something, and maybe this is easier. So when any of the listeners feeling the way they do, they should in the DM write, "Hey Christian, can you give me your identity pivoting worksheet we created a few years ago?" And that's from us, who you are to who you're becoming. And that's, I got this from a friend of mine a few years ago. It's one of the most powerful tools I did. Also, if our clients would like to, or anybody here listening, what does hospitality stand for, and what skills or framework, more of a framework grid, can I fall into, or what hospitality really is? For me, it's really everything has its buckets, and for that, it's really simple. The three mistakes I have made, and for me, to manage my first team, for an example, or whatever you have, if you kind of go back and say, hey, what are the three things I failed on and or learn from? Because the learnings you have from there is 100% what you need to learn today. Mm-hmm. And for me, that's really simple. I call it, it's like an E-Myth revisited. Is what is my business experience and your why? We started why. I love the whole thing from Simon Sinek, because if you dive into that, it makes so much clarity, and then it makes so much sense of doing that. Because for me, let's use me as an example. I went through this process during COVID. Was the chief culinary officer of a company, walked away, and I tried to find out where do I fit in. And I knew I had a certain level of skills. How can I provide value back to the client on that? So for me, I did exactly what I asked you. I wrote out, hey, what would that look like for me 6 months from now? And then it was easy to retro engineer. And then also it was easy for me to write in and say, hey, this is my skill. And then here, this is something I'm not good at. That's totally okay, because you find somebody who is, mm-hmm. and you partner with them. And for me, there's two powerful things around that, because anything, if you want to improve it, you need to be really realistic and honest where you are. And that's what that tool makes you do. And the second thing is it helps you chunk it down. And that's a Tony Robbins thing. He always talks about chunking things down, because when you do it in smaller sections, it doesn't look as overwhelming. And then also, if you do it in smaller sections, it's easier to tackle. And for me, that's just really powerful. And for me, that's what I learned. That's why I said, if anybody's interested in that, write again in the comments that you want to have our tools. And the two tools is, we call it the identity pivoting worksheet. And we need a better name for that. But it's really a tool of where are you today, and who are you becoming? It's as simple as that. And the other one is what we call the hospitality grid framework. And for me, if you do any of that, it's really easy. And then in the morning, when you do all of this, and when you get up in the morning, let me give you my morning routine. Is what resonates with me today? What am I gonna get done? But the most importantly is what resonates with me today. What is 1, 2, or 3 things I'm going to get done today, which move me forward? And then how will I celebrate when I follow through? Because there's one thing I learned us as a human society, we don't do a good job celebrating ourselves. And there's a lot of people we work with which do amazing works out there. They just really knock it out of the park every single day. And deep down, they don't think they do, because celebrating the small wins, for me, it makes it easier to do something bigger. And it's not about the celebration side or the celebration act. For me, it's really, hey, I need to recognize it. I did some amazing work today. Mm-hmm. And I didn't have to abandon hospitality to move forward. And I didn't have to leave anything behind, or I'm not carrying anything which has a higher value for me to get to the next level. And that's, for me, hospitality. And hospitality is something similar or different for a lot of people. And I know I'm kind of carrying on here, but the easiest thing is do the 3 steps. Where do you think you want to be 6 months from now? Because as you celebrate the small wins and do that, it kind of takes away from, hey, XYZ is just, he's on vacation again. And there's a really great book out there from, what's her name? Mel Robbins. And she calls him the Let Them Theory. Yeah. And I just started reading that again as I watched my son play soccer on Saturday. And it's so true. If you kind of step back and see what other people do, you realize it's not what they do, is that you would like to do that. And you see yourself in that, and that's why you get upset. Mm-hmm. And for me, that's one of the powerful things of not just letting go, on giving yourself some grace. Because I know you. There's 3 amazing things you do. I think you really care about your clients, and not just care about the clients, you honestly want them to do better. I think it's one of your great qualities. And then the other 2 things, that's for me simple, is not only will you go above and beyond to find the tools to make your clients successful, for me is number 3, you don't give up. And that's the greatest thing about you. And for me, that's a great quality of anybody. And for me, that's why I enjoy working with you. And that's why I enjoy having you a part of the team. Because for me, that's what I absolutely admire about you.
Well, I appreciate that. And I know that's one of the things I enjoy working with you, because some of those 3 steps that you went through is that when we work with our clients, we just don't present, like when we present like business strategy or marketing, wherever we're supporting them on, I know you like to really take the time to get them in the right headspace of who they are, so that when we present solutions to them, that they can resonate with them. Because if someone's not in a good spot in their own life, or they don't feel good about themselves, then whatever you present to them isn't going to make sense. They're not going to see the value or what it is that you brought to them until they feel good about where they're at with themselves. And I know that that's something that you just incorporate automatically. Actually, I don't even think you even think about it. You just intuitively do it. Mm-hmm. And I think that's why people walk away always feeling good working with us, especially with you, is because you help add that level of clarity in who they are, so that when you present them a solution to their business, they understand how it fits in their own life and in the lives of their employees, and it makes more sense to them. Yeah. So, yeah. Well, I appreciate it. And right now I feel like I'm definitely more on the level here. I got a good bubble going in the middle. So,
and the great thing is, you don't just do it once. You do that every day. Yeah, and for me, the friends who know me know I'm very steeped in tradition, and very steeped in repetition.
Yeah.
And I honestly think we are what we do the most often. Mm-hmm. And we believe in what we give our most attention to. So for me, it's as simple as that. And hospitality is one of those fields where people go into hospitality because they want to serve the clients. And it doesn't matter what that looks like. It could be somebody just serving a meal, somebody preparing it, or somebody building the home where all of that takes place. You can call it a restaurant or whatever you want to call it. Is they all have the same thing. They want to serve the clients better than anybody else. And if you keep that in mind and on a daily basis saying, hey, there's days I leave here and I sit at home and I said, hey, how did I service my clients today? Can I do better? And I think there's always room for an improvement. And not just how can I do better, how can they get more value out of working with us? And I think that's the key for us. And that's why I think from a few people, if you look, all of our clients been with us for a very long time. And there's a reason for that.
Yep, absolutely. Mm-hmm. Well, I feel a little better.
And there's something, I don't have it here. It's called Jameson, a little whiskey. That's no. Sometimes for me, it's really simple. It's three things. I need to recognize where I am today, then recognize the things I'm really good at. Because if I try to climb a mountain, but my ladder is leaned against the wrong house, it doesn't matter how hard I work. So it needs to come natural to you. And sometimes we need somebody who sees in us what we don't see in ourselves. And those are the three things I think what makes people successful, and that's a whole life lesson.
Absolutely. Well, this was a fantastic conversation, Jeff. I mean, I know we just I just threw it out there to you, and I knew you would be up for the challenge because it's just a part of you, and it was great. And I know I'm the only one that feels this way in the whole world.
Thank God. So we solved that. So you're the only one. Thank God. So everybody else listening, you are clean and free because he is the guy. He owns it. And so if any of our clients want to have a little bit more information about us or learn more about what we do, reach out to us. Write us a note below. What did you connect with today? And what is your little tool gets you out of a funk? And that's really all it is. At the end of the day, Lawrence, I know there's very few people who are as good as you are. And looking at what you did in your career, you did things 20 years ago before it was sexy. Okay. And that's ahead of the curve you are. And sometimes we just need to allow ourselves to feel that.
Mm-hmm. Perfect. There it is. You just said it. Sometimes we just got to allow ourselves to feel it. Yeah. Cool.
Awesome. Well, so with that, thanks for throwing me a curveball. And so anybody who wants to know more about us, email us, text us, write on the comment below. We're here to support you. And if anybody wants to look what we do in our mentorship program, come and check us out. We would love to have you part of the family.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
Thank you. All right.
So with that, thank you, everybody. We see you next Tuesday. And in the meantime, write on the comments below, what did you connect with? How happy you are that Lawrence owns this and you don't have to own it anymore. Exactly. And then check us out. With that, I want to say thanks, everybody. We see you next week.
Thank you.